Hello gamers from around the world, this is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's episode of the World of Gaming. And Dutch, we are back this week after taking a break last week for multiple reasons, mainly work things on my end. But man, good news. I had a big... Good news. Indeed, I had a big event Monday and Tuesday this week that was a very good potential step forward in my career, and it was very successful. So I'm more than happy that we took the week off last week. But we are back this week, and I'm excited, man. I missed you. I missed the community. So let me welcome everyone to a Friday episode of the World of Gaming. Unfortunately, we had to move it from the regular Thursday spot to Friday, but we didn't want to miss another week. So welcome back, everyone. And it's great to see you guys. And of course, Dutch, how are you doing today?
Yes, I'm better. Yeah, I had a big migraine yesterday, a tension migraine. So naturally, I just lay in a dark room. And so that was me yesterday. That's why we didn't podcast. Of course, having the spotlight on and things doesn't help. So much better today though, nice and relaxed. And it's the weekend, so I'm glad I didn't have a migraine on the weekend because I couldn't think of anything worse.
That's good.
All good otherwise, all good. And we've had a couple of gaming events this week, so we've got something to talk about.
Absolutely. We have plenty to talk about. Besides the two showcases from Xbox and Sony, we have a couple of other very interesting things to talk about. Some weird stuff, some good stuff, some controversial stuff. We'll discuss everything. We will discuss everything. So, but again, a big welcome to our community. Great to see you guys already in the chat. Of course, also a big shout out to everyone who listens after the fact, either here on YouTube or, of course, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. Welcome. And as always, we want to start a gaming podcast, the gaming podcast, with the games that we are playing. All right, Dutch. All right. So, everyone in the chat, of course, let us know what you guys have been playing. But Dutch, what kept you busy over the last 2 weeks now, since we missed last week?
2 weeks, yes. I eventually dived into the Rising Tide DLC for Final Fantasy 16. So I've jumped into that head first. I've started that. I don't know how far into it I am, but it is quite an interesting DLC. So I've done a little bit of exploring in that, some of the side quests. Then, with it being a smaller DLC, I'm just doing the side quests as they come and then completing the story at the same time. Nice and easy, so everything's mopped up and I don't have to go back to anything. And then I saw... And I'm going to blame the General C for this. I saw Jen chilling on Minecraft the other day. So I downloaded Minecraft again.
Oh, you can join my kids, man. They are hooked on Minecraft. But hey, I have to since you I brought up my kids, but man, I went back and downloaded Rayman Legends.
Yes,
and played it with them in co-op. You know. Like, I'm having a blast again.
Yeah, Rayman's such a good game.
Such a fantastic game. Okay, but
Rayman. I wish Ubi would go back and make another Rayman.
Me too, man. Rayman Origins and Legends were both phenomenal platformers, and I never understood why they haven't gotten...
I would love them to remaster the original Rayman.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, definitely.
A little bit modern graphics. Don't touch any of the game. Just modern graphics. All of the levels as we knew them when we picked them up. Yeah. Just give it a nice spruce up. Oh, I would love that.
I would love that too, man. Yeah, it's fantastic. Okay, but sorry, I interrupted you when you wanted to talk about Minecraft. I feel like I'm sitting on my dinner table. When we eat for dinner, all my both kids talk about is Minecraft, bro.
I had a huge addiction to it when it first came out on the 360 and the PC, like years back when it first released. And it used to be one of them games where you could just, and you still can. It's brilliant. So what I've been doing is I've been just having like a podcast on or something in the background, and just chilling and relaxing and just mining things and building things whilst I've got something on in the background to listen to. So I'm going to start doing that with a bit of audiobooks when I just need to relax and not think about anything, because it's a game where you don't have to think. You can just do what you want to do and listen to stuff at the same time. So I'm going to do that as a little kind of a side thing. But it is a bit of addicting, and it doesn't take up any space, so I don't have to worry about space on the hard drive. Aside from that, still plugging away at Visions of Mana. Obviously, still love it. Can't wait for it to kind of get into more of the end of it. I'm over halfway now. So the big bad's in it. There's been big story changes and things. So I won't go into much of it now. Obviously, I've still got older gameplay on it there. And the reason I haven't recorded more gameplays, there is a story change in the new section of the gameplay that I'm in now that you will notice if I do record any more of it. So I'm not going to. I've played a little bit more of Age of Mythology as well, because obviously I still love. I go on.
What do you think?
Oh, I still love Age of Mythology. It's you know what it is. It's different.
It's different.
I still love playing Age 4 and Age 2 because it's traditional Age where you don't have god powers and you're not raining down huge, powerful abilities on people when they're trying to build. And that's why I like that one, because you can just focus on creating your empire and then going and having these huge wars. Yeah. Whereas Age of Mythology is an entirely different thing when you've got the big giant beasties coming after you and everyone. It's like, especially if you're the Vikings, for instance, any of the Norse gods, you can choose the wolf brood essentially and just plague them with hundreds of wolves that attack them every 2 moments. And that is annoying as hell.
But it's so easy to counter. Like, I will get to Age in a second.
But it is. I've been having fun on that. But yeah, those are my fixes at the moment, and I've chose my next game on PlayStation, and I'm going to Platinum next as well, and play through fully. Which is Ghost of Tsushima.
Fantastic.
The announcement on Sony's showcase.
You haven't played it before?
Yeah, I've played it before. I've played quite a large chunk of it, mostly on the PlayStation 4. I got the PS5 upgrade for it.
Yeah.
And I didn't go back and play it after I bought the upgrade because there's been obviously loads of Final Fantasy releases that I've been going through. But now I've finished the main story on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I've finished the main story on 16, and I've just got the DLC there to go through. I'm going to focus on Ghost of Tsushima now and get that completely polished.
But you're not doing that now, right? We are podcasting now.
No, not right now. Not right now. No, but that's my next one, and it's a good. To be fair, since there's only that, and Astrobot is the only one I want to pick up on there anytime soon. The next game to play, that's a good thing to tide me over now until Sony's next release next year.
Okay,
that'll be the next the game that I'm playing on there. So
yeah,
that is me. That is all me. What about yourself?
Sweet. Well, I'll get to what I've been playing in a second. Let me briefly shout out Drawn TJ, who sends in the first super chat of the day. He says, I'm glad you guys are live, Boxy. Do you want to play Age of Mythology sometime? Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
We'll have a 4-way battle. We'll see who comes out on top.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that sounds fantastic.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. We have to do some kind of community night one day.
Yeah, a big skirmish where it's everyone v everyone.
Yeah, man.
That will be hectic.
That will be hectic. That will be hectic. But a lot of fun.
A quick shout out as well before we go any further. I've got 2 awesome member chats. So I've got one from Fanto Surf for 30 months, mix up recruit, and another one from Marion the Mad, 36 months as a
Sweet
Wall member. So thank you very much, chaps, for your ongoing support. Much appreciated.
Yeah. Shout out. So, what have I been playing? Before I get to Age, of course I've been playing Age. I finished Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah.
I finished Star Wars Outlaws. Very fun game, man. I mean, it's not the best game ever made or anything, but it's definitely worth a playthrough. It's significantly shorter than I expected. It feels like after the prologue, and you get to space and you can fly around and go to different planets, it feels like, oh, this is going to be one hell of a massive Ubisoft game. But it isn't. I didn't do like every side quest, but it has a similar system like Starfield with the faction quest lines. So I did all of those and the main line story, and I think it was something around 25 hours. Nice. So you don't have to invest like 100 hours or so, like, I don't know, in Assassin's Creed Valhalla also, where you have like the main story finished after 80 hours or so. That's definitely not Star Wars Outlaws. But yeah, man, 25 to 30 hours, and it's a good story. They capture the atmosphere of the original trilogy really well. Yeah, like the music, the art style, like everything. It is fantastic. But don't expect any Jedis. There are no Jedis in there.
Yep.
So, but other than that, man, I had a blast playing it. It was good. Nothing super special, but definitely worth a playthrough. I played it through Ubisoft Plus for the first time. I got the, Ubisoft Plus subscription for 1 month. So you can play the full game for 1 month subscription of $17. Yes, I know I'm cheap, but it's worth it, man. Definitely. So, and other than that, it's been mainly Age of Mythology. Of course, I knew I'm going to get hooked with Age, so I held off as long as I could because of the work thing that I talked about earlier.
You cheated a little bit.
I cheated a little bit.
I was on the other day.
I'm weak, man. I'm weak. Like when was it? Like last week, Wednesday, or?
I went, oh, you've broken.
I broke, but I only spent like a couple of hours last week. But then finished the work thing, big move for my career, and then I went hard, man. I went hard. I'm already at like, I don't know, 20 hours or so this week.
Yeah.
So
it's really not hard to do either, though. It's really not hard to do.
20.
I think I'll have to have a check how many hours I've played on it so far, but I've got a good 15, 20 hours myself, I think.
And I'm really enjoying it. Let me see. Age of Mythology. There we go. Yeah, about 20 hours this week. So anyway, Age of Mythology. It is a new Age game, obviously. Well, it isn't really new, but a great remake. Definitely a good one. So where do I start? Let me tell. Well, the graphics are good. Really modern real-time strategy graphics. Nothing super special, but totally good on a technical level. Absolutely. In itself, I start with the bad things.
Yes.
You can tell that some of the mechanics are outdated.
Legacy.
Legacy. these are minor things, but when you really want to like crack the game, you know, and become really good, it is some things are a little annoying to me, especially after having spent 700 hours in H4. It's the little things. Let me give you an example. When you get attacked, usually what you do is you tell your villagers to seek shelter. And they never find proper shelter. And once they found proper shelter, there is no button to send them all back to work. Like, this is so annoying because you don't know in which house they go, and you have to click through. You have to click through every house and send those that are in that particular house or tower or town center or wherever they are individually back to work. Like, what the hell? This is so annoying. Then sometimes it happens that, you know, the map of H4 is basically structured in grids. So this helps you a lot when you like want to position really quickly certain things. Like, let me give you an example. You want to build a farm or farms, you know, which you kind of have to do a little later in the match. And you don't have time to place them properly. What you do in H4 is you click on the drop-off point, the windmill or whatever, depends on the nation you're choosing. You click in the drop-off point, and it positions them in a grid around this. And this isn't possible in Age of Mythology. You have to, and then even if you want to position something, it doesn't snap into a grid. You can position everything freely on the map, and that makes it really challenging to do things quickly.
Yep.
Yeah. So there are a couple of things that just feel a little outdated. Yeah, these are the minor things. But this is nitpicking, of course.
Yeah.
Overall, it is a fantastic and super fun game. So I'm still early, like trying to figure out what are the right build orders, what are the one or two gods I want to focus on. Let me put on some gameplay, because Age obviously won in the poll in the chat, which is fantastic. And you will see me basically toying around with different. I recorded a couple of matches. They are all against AI, because I'm still trying to figure out, you know, what works for me, which is the right god for me, which is the right build order. So I checked out the Egyptians.
Yeah.
And the Greek. Properly, I have played a couple of matches against the AIs with the Roman gods and so on. But yeah, I'm still a little torn in between Egyptian or Greek. I tend to lean towards the Greek gods. I played a lot of Zeus, but Zeus is very heavily focused on hoplites, and hoplites are, yeah, Hades is what I was going towards, but yeah, I have tried Hades, and Hades is actually like, if you know how to play him, I haven't found really the best strategies yet, but I can feel there is a lot to it, because Hades has the advantage you can get to the second age really quickly. Like, I will put on a match after this one we are watching for Hades. I think this is a Zeus a match. You can level up Hades really quickly into the second age and then focus on archers, which is best in the second age. Because what you want to do in the second age, you want to harass your opponent, right? You can't really do much in the first age except set up the proper basics for your economy. And I found like a really quick build order that gets me to the second age within the third minute. Like after 3 minutes 20, 3 minutes 30, depends a little bit on the map, you can level up to your starting age 2. You're not leveling up, you starting age 2, which is really quick. Yeah. And then you can go in with archers. And the archers are not there to destroy like the base of your opponent, but it is to harass his villagers, to stop his economy, right? That's the strategy. And that's why I really dig Hades, because he has the bonus on archers. It helps harassing and then go into the third age, and starting with the third age, you can go in with cavalry, right? Because usually archers, a lot of people, the AI as well, try to counter archers with either hoplites or foot soldiers. And if you see your opponent is choosing like to focus on cavalry to counter archers, which is the best way, obviously, to do, you can still focus more on hoplites. You don't have to do cavalry with Hades. So Hades, and then as a second god, Ares is a really, feels to me right now like a really good build that you can do, right? Only problem is you need a lot of wood. But this helps you also to set up your economy once you move to the third age, when you kind of have to shift away from the food that is available on the map and build up your own food. Once you have enough wood. So this is
why I like one of the Norse gods. So one of the Norse god abilities is that you can duplicate animals. So farm animals or anything like that. So if you already gathered a crowd of sheep or a crowd of cows or something like that, obviously with the prayer ability and praying to the gods and things like that, and you gather up your prayer power or lightning, whatever it is at the top right. I keep forgetting what it's called. You gather that up, and then you can select the ability to duplicate the farm animals and duplicate and duplicate and duplicate. So you've got ever-ending food, essentially. So you can keep doing it.
You can. How do you do that?
It's one of the god powers that you get at the top. You know, at the top along the top where you can do. Yeah, one of the abilities. I've forgotten which of the sub gods under that. But in one of the Norse ones, you can select to essentially duplicate animals that are on screen. So it's a set area, and as long as they're all gathered there, you just keep duplicating and duplicating and duplicating.
Ooh. I have to look into that, because that would save you like a lot of wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets ridiculous as well, because you can imagine it duplicates whatever's there. So if you just don't do that, and you get your wooden things gathered initially and get a good stock of these animals there, and obviously it only takes 30 seconds to replenish the power.
Yeah.
You duplicate again, and then duplicate again, and then duplicate again. And then you've just got a crowd of animals to farm.
Yeah. Huh, interesting. Yeah, I need to look into that. Now, I also toyed around a lot of the strategies. Basically, what you want to do is, in every age game, is the big question, and that's why I always say, if you play like in a higher level in competitive, usually the game is decided before anyone reaches age 4.
Yeah.
People always try to focus so much on getting to the 4th age and then build up a massive army and stuff. But if you watch pro games, if you play competitive online in higher ranks, the game is usually decided in the 2nd or 3rd age, right? And there are 2 ways to play this. It's either you try to build a first army to harass your opponent in the 2nd age. Takes up a lot of resources on your side.
Yeah.
But you basically try to stop him building up his economy. That's option 1. Or option 2 is you try to defend your town and get a second town center as soon as possible to set up your economy and then destroy him in the 3rd age, right? These are basically the 2 main strategies. I haven't really decided yet which is my strategy to go-to strategy. And it also, of course, depends a lot on what your component is doing. Your opponent is doing, what the other guy is doing. So, if he tries to set up a second town center, I usually try to also go for a second TC because it is and that's a very different thing in between Age 4 and, of course, Age of Mythology. It takes way longer to get up a little army to harass. In Age 4, you can harass your opponent really well with 1 archer.
Yeah.
1 archer is all it takes to... Like, I'm talking about the guys playing in gold also. Of course, if you go higher leagues into diamond or so, it'll be a little bit more challenging. But, like, when you're playing gold in Age 4, all you need is one archer to harass. It's impossible in Age of Mythology. So you kind of have to have a little army, like 2 mythical beasts and, like, 4 archers or so to go harass.
Yeah.
By the time you have those, if the opponent knows what he's doing, he has already set up his second TC. So you won't be able to stop him from doing a second TC. So if you feel like he's going for a second TC, you kind of have to do the same. But for the beginners, it's really hard to see what the opponent is really doing. So in that case, I usually say try and check out the second TC strategy.
Yeah.
How to get there? The second town center is super cheap in Age of Mythology, right? It is really, really cheap. It doesn't take long you can have the second TC up by minute 5 or so. And then it takes you another minute or 2 until you have enough resources to go into the 3rd age. And you can easily...
Is it just me as well? Is yours set where it just starts auto-generating town villages?
Yeah, but who's using auto-generation in Age? Bro.
Yeah, I keep turning mine off, and every time I start a match, it's every time I put a new TC down, it starts auto-generating villagers, and I've turned that option off. Why do you keep doing it?
Okay.
So I have to go. I have to literally go and quickly, as soon as it completes, stop auto-generation of villagers. I'm like, I don't want that on. For some reason, mine keeps staying on.
That's weird. Because that is also one of the criticisms on my end. There is in the hut too much. You can't. The hut is too big. It takes away so much viewing what is happening on the map. And why the hell did they switch the shortcuts of building? Like, seriously, like, who puts Q for house, W for food, and for the rest drop off point E? When you have H4 out and people playing that for years now, you don't switch those. Like, my brain is so drained to do. But okay, that's a me thing. That's a me thing. But who does that? Why?
Yeah.
Anyways, no. So yeah, I'm still toying around. I also feel like since generating army units is significantly faster than in other Age games.
Yeah.
Like usually in Age 4, you want to go like, I don't know, at least 3 archer farms and 2 or 3 cavalry or foot soldiers, right? So that you get like your army up quickly. You kind of don't need to spend those resources in Age of Mythology because the units are generated so quickly.
Yeah,
they really are. So early in the game, of course, if a match goes to Age 4, of course you want to set up like proper unit generation. But in the early ages, really not that necessary. So yeah, man, I'm having a blast. Obviously, still trying to figure out different strategies. We'll see what works for me. I've also played around with the Egypts a little bit. The Egypts, I feel like once I get the hang of Hades, I'm probably going Hades. And I recommend that also, by the way, to everyone who's playing Age of Mythology. Don't try to be an all-rounder. Really learn 1 or 2 civilizations or gods, properly. Like it takes, if you're not playing like in the super high pro leagues, it takes you long enough to figure out a civilization and learn how to play that civilization. When to get which upgrades. When do I upgrade, I don't know, get armor? When do I upgrade wood chopping? When do I upgrade mining gold? Learn how to play your one civilization properly. And once you get really the hang of one of those, then try others. But don't play around too much at the beginning. If you're not really sure what you're doing, focus on one god that works for you. So, and I feel like for me, that's going to be Hades for now.
Yeah.
And I've played a little bit of the Egypts. The Egypts are super powerful, but the Egypts need a lot more micromanaging than the Greeks do. But once you get the hang of the micromanaging of the Egypts, they are significantly more complex civilization to play. But they gotta with the Egypts, you really don't need a second TC. If you use the priests properly and know when to, okay, now I need, for the next 30 seconds, I need more food. Move the priest to food, then move the priest to gold, move it there. You can really micromanage your civilization super effectively. And that gives you, of course, especially early in the game, a super head start with your economy. So, and one final tip on my end, if you want to play Age properly and you don't know if you're doing stuff properly, look at your resources. This goes, by the way, that tip is applicable also to Age 4. If you have 200 wood, you're doing something wrong. Don't look at this match here just yet. This was one of my first games, and I was still trying to figure out a lot of stuff. But if you want to really play like a harder AI or competitively online, as soon as you have resources in the bank, they are not doing something for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't have a benefit of having 400 food in the bank. If you spend that on something, you have a benefit in the game. So if you're not sure if you're doing stuff right, if you have too much resources of one thing, you're doing something wrong. Yeah. So Dutch. I could go on forever.
Everyone's loving the age chat. And Phantasur said, your age banter is top tier, meme worthy. Look after your wood.
Look after your wood. Yeah, of course, sometimes you have to save a little resources. If you want to age up, of course. Of course, you kind of have to. Yeah, right? But...
yeah. Welcome back to the Age of Podcast.
yeah. That's
all things Age of Mythology and Age of Empires.
Yeah.
Another thing that I like about the Norse gods, outside of the duplication of food, is turning trees into enemies. So I can harass your villagers who are trying to chop down wood and turn them into giant walking beasts that kill them.
Yeah. There's Osiris can burn down forests.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's also but honestly, also something that is these are god powers that are super annoying early in the game. And yes, I said earlier,
just use them to harass. That's all I use them for.
Yeah, that's obviously a thing, but they are not giving you really an edge. Literally, what I feel almost OP is when you get to the third age with the Greeks. You can choose, I think it is Apollo. You can choose a god that can set up 2 portals.
Yeah.
And you can beam your army to wherever you want.
You can do that for the Norse as well.
Yeah. In the Norse god has the same?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't played too many of the Norse.
It is annoying. Yeah. It is annoying. The one thing I completely forgot about initially was that your Titans can walk across the sea.
That's the thing, right? And the portal... honestly, the portal is so OP. Because if you place your portal properly, and you can also set the spawn point of your unit farms, yeah? You can set it into the portal, and you basically spawn every new unit you build directly into the camp of your opponent. This is like...
yeah.
If you get that running, honestly, you've won the match. It feels so OP. But yeah, man.
Yeah. But yeah, great. Otherwise, it's good fun. But I've got both Age 4 and Age of Mythology installed, so I just keep flipping between the two depending on what mood I'm in.
Yeah. No, I can't do that, man. My brain is not... it's impossible for me because the basic strategies are simply different, right? In H4 and mythology, and then they have the layout of the quick mapping, but I'm missing a couple of things. Like, why is H, if you press H on your keyboard, not getting you to your TC, to your town center? It's like, but yeah, I'm super enjoying it. I mean, it's a new age game, but I'm not 100% sure if it will grab me like H4 did. We will see. We will see. But
give it time.
I will. I most definitely will. All right, Dutch.
Yes.
Let me briefly catch up on the super chats. $10 super chat came in from Drawnty J. He says, I can't wait for StarCraft to come to Xbox Game Pass for consoles. Would you like to play with me on it because I used to play Command and Conquer, but not StarCraft. Yeah, I mean, StarCraft isn't coming to consoles, right? It's just PC Game Pass.
I'm not sure. StarCraft 1 and 2. And all it said was Game Pass, so I don't know.
I think I read on Xbox Wire it's PC Game Pass only. But someone in the chat, please correct me if I'm telling bullshit right now. But anyway, TJ, absolutely. I fully intend to especially play StarCraft 2 again once it drops. So we need to do a party, man, and then play a little Age, play a little StarCraft. Good times for strategy, guys, man. And Ara History Untold is out as well, but I haven't played that yet, right? Since it's a 4X strategy game, I intend to play that a little bit on the alley, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Dutch, let us get into some actual news after talking for way too long about Age. I'm kidding. There's no such thing than too much talk about Age. Yeah. There's no such thing. But anyways, let's move to the news of the week. All right, Dutch. What a week for news.
Yes.
2 showcases in 1 week, both from Sony and Xbox. I think both of them were not like super duper special, but still some interesting stuff there, right?
Some new games, some updates on games, some nice little surprises.
Yeah. Definitely.
Indeed.
So, which one do we start first? Maybe State of Play?
We'll start with State of Play because they went first.
Okay, they went first. Well. All right. We get to Xbox showcase later then. So,
yes.
What did you think overall before we go through some games?
Before the final announcement of the showcase, it was average. It was a very average show. Until the very final announcement, which actually is something that we've been asking for. It's tell us what's coming up for PlayStation, show us a new game, show us something in the pipeline, which is what we want. Before that final announcement, it was some updates, some DLCs, some VR games, and a remaster. So it was average, and a lot of those games aren't games that are for me, and most of those games aren't games that are for me. It was just a kind of, if you're a diehard Sony fan that picks up absolutely everything that they've ever put out, then you might like some of the DLCs that are there. But if you don't own those games and have no intention of playing some of those games, then you'll not play them.
Yeah.
And if you don't own VR headsets, then 2 of the announcements are completely irrelevant to you anyway. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. There's nothing to add. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the announcements.
Yes. I'll just go through a quick list of it first, and then we'll kind of dive into some of the more interesting ones.
All righty.
So the started off with the Astro Bot DLC. Of course, that game's just come out, so it was actually quite surprising that they got DLC for that almost immediately. So that was a nice little surprise. So I'm going to jump into the game soon. I'll be jumping into it this month, and to have DLC coming out not long after, because the DLC comes out in the fall, and it's free. So that's good to see. So I'll be playing that, and then later on this fall, I'll get a nice free DLC for it. They had a few different multi-plat ones. They had Monster Hunter Wilds again with a release date, which was February 28th of February next year.
Mm-hmm.
They had Dynasty Warriors, Origins release date as well, which is 17th of January next year.
Yeah.
They had a cool indie game that is coming to both PlayStation 5 and PSVR 2 called the Midnight Walk. They had another multi-plat announcement in a game called Hell Is Us, which is one of the standout ones.
That looked actually good.
Store.
Yeah. But it's a multiplat. It's also coming to Xbox. Yeah.
Yeah. Palworld eventually got its PlayStation 5 announcement. So Palworld's on PlayStation 5, and that was an immediate drop, so you could play that and pick it up straight away. We got some cool Alan Wake 2 DLC announcement, The Lake House, which is coming in October as well. So it's going to be a packed month next month again.
Yeah.
The Last of Us Part 1 remaster, so the one that came out in 2022, is going into PS Plus this week. Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remastered on both Xbox and PlayStation. Announcement trailer. This is on my web browser. There we go. My web browser keeps crashing because of this fucking shit website that I'm on. Stellar Blade got a DLC announcement and a PC port. And that is Stellar Blade and Nier Automata collaboration. They then had Luna Remastered Collection going on to PlayStation next year. They had the DLC for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, Radical Reptiles, it's called. They had Metro Awakening VR announcement and release date, November 7th. They had Fantasian Neo Dimension, which is another multiplat. And that is... I don't think there's a date on that one yet, but that one's coming out, I think... Oh, it's later this year. They had another indie game, Fear the Spotlight. That's coming out on PlayStation and PC later this year. Arcade Chronicles, which is an MMORPG, comes out in 2025, and I think that's multiplat as well. Of course, Dragon Age, a new trailer for Dragon Age coming out on October 31st.
Can't wait, man.
Towers of Agaspa. Yeah. And Hitman VR, World of Assassination for VR 2. And then they finished it off with the biggest announcement of the show, which was Ghosts of Yutai, the follow-on, the sequel, dated 300 years after Ghost of Tsushima, with a whole new protagonist in a whole new area, with a whole new story. And then they also went into a little bit about PlayStation 5 Pro. They really skimmed over some of the new games that are going to be enhanced, like super skimmed. It was just like flash trailer. So you had to look at an article to figure out what games got what, and what upgrades and what updates things they got. And then they also announced some new shells for the PS5 Slim, which are the Chroma edition. So Chrome Pearl, Chrome Indigo, and Chrome Teal. And also announcing that same collection for the controllers. And that comes out October 3rd, with the other Chroma coming out November 7th, and Chroma Teal coming on January. So that's all of the announcements.
To sum it up, I mean, like you said...
And Lego Adventure. Sorry, and ignore that. That wasn't all of them.
Yeah, Lego.
Horizon Remastered, of course, as speculated, with the £10 or $10, €10 upgrade fee that you have to buy. And Lego Horizon Adventures, of course, coming out on November 14th.
Yeah.
What we have to say for Horizon Remastered before we get into anything else as well is, in typical Sony fashion, just after they'd announced this remastered version, they upped the price of the original PS4 version of Horizon
to $40 again.
$50 again or something.
Yeah.
$40-50. So, of course, then it would put it back as to a full price game if you don't already own it. So, if you are planning on picking this up and you haven't already, my personal recommendation, if you have a disc version PlayStation 5, is go out and buy a second-hand version of Horizon and then get the upgrade. Save yourself some money. If you don't already own it, that is. If you already own it, then it's only $10. If you really want to play through it again.
But only if you own
those are.
It's only when you own the complete edition. So I bought Horizon Forbidden West when it came out on the original PS4, and I actually got the DLC, but I didn't get the complete edition, and the upgrade is only available for that, for whatever reason. Like,
strange.
So weird. But yeah, man, it's a lot of DLC, multiplats, or remaster. Let us talk about Horizon for a second, since we are on the subject.
Yes.
Does it need a remaster, Dutch?
No.
Okay, next topic.
The game looks and runs fine on PlayStation 5 already.
Right.
It's already 4K 60 anyway because it's running on the PlayStation 5. It's absolutely fine. There is nothing wrong with the game.
Yeah.
There's no requirement for them to do this. What they've done is just replaced Aloy's model with the Horizon Forbidden West model of Aloy. They've added or changed some of the dialogue, 10 hours worth of dialogue, and they've spruced it up a bit to kind of match some of the graphical aspects of Horizon Forbidden West. But really, it's not required. It's anyone who's played the game has already finished the game. It's essentially, and especially if you've already platinumed it, it's just $10 to get a second platinum because PlayStation tricks you like that and just gives you all the trophies if you just upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's at least they provide the option for a relatively cheap $10 upgrade, right? Yeah. But again, not for those people that bought the game day one. So that's like you said, typical Sony fashion. It feels like a lot of the things that they do lately is feel just like a ripoff, right? But yeah, I fully agree. I mean, listen, Horizon Forbidden West, I actually enjoyed that. The first one,
Zero Dawn, you mean?
Zero Dawn. Did I say Forbidden West? Pardon me. Yeah. Zero Dawn. I actually enjoyed that. Was a really good open world game, right? Had some cool ideas. I actually did enjoy where the story went, how the robot dinosaurs came to be, and so on. I enjoyed that game, but it is, like you said, it is already running at 4K 60. It is still a visually very good-looking game. There's absolutely no need for remaster. But hey, I mean, who can you really blame Sony if people keep buying those remasters and remasters? It's easy made money.
They do, which is why they keep doing it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's why people bought the remaster of the remaster for Last of Us and so on. It's like, as long as people are always voting with their wallets, and people buy them, so obviously there is a market for it. However, given the absolutely dry-looking roadmap of Sony first-party studios, right? There is no arguing about that. We don't have a roadmap. We have now Ghost of Yotei for next year, which we'll get to that in a second. Is fantastic, but that's about it, right? And there's nothing else on the horizon and to be excited about. And instead of focusing on all those remasters and remakes and stuff, I would just rather have it that they focus on new games, right? Not the games that I've already played and don't intend to replay. And the the rumors are out there that Days Gone is coming next, right? And usually I don't. You guys know me. I'm not a fan of these so-called insiders, but
I know there's only one game that you would play if they did a remake of it.
Which?
Witcher 3.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But hey, CD Projekt Red did that, and it was free. It was just a next-gen update, right? They added the performance mode, they added ray tracing, they added higher resolutions, better textures, better hair physics, and so on. They've added all that stuff. Witcher 3 now runs on consoles phenomenal and still looks like a modern-day game, right? Yeah. But my point was actually I'm not trusting insiders. That's no secret. However, with the rumored Days Gone remaster, and given that Sony has been remastering basically everything, right? From Spider-Man to Last of Us multiple times, Horizon, and so on. The only thing they are apparently not touching is Bloodborne, which is the one game that everybody wants them to do.
It's become a bit of a joke now, though. Isn't it? Every time you one game they all actually want remastered is a game that they will never remaster.
Yeah, right. Death Stranding and everything, and they're remastering everything. So it's
the funny thing is about Bloodborne as well, though, is the big hype around Souls games right now. It would absolutely make sense to remaster Bloodborne. Because people are loving Souls games now. Like
absolutely.
When Bloodborne originally released, the hype around Souls games was nowhere near as much.
That would be probably the one remaster that has the potential to sell more than the original game, right? But that's the one thing that they seemingly are not doing. But so you don't have to be an insider to guess that Days Gone is gonna be next. That's an educated guess, right? Wouldn't be surprised. But it is what it is. So besides that, obviously it's
another thing on the remaster thing is we had the before the show we had the kind of rumor that Days Gone was getting a remaster as well, and obviously that's sorry, apologies. And that one I have literally just platinumed, so I wouldn't get it. I mean, if it was a $10 upgrade, then I'd get it for the free platinum. But other than that, there's no reason. I with me in remasters, as much as I love some of the old games that I used to play and have this huge affinity for old games that I used to play, the issue we've got these days is there's that many new games and new things to experience that I just don't have time to go back and play games that I loved in the past.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I would never play anything new. I would never play anything new.
I mean, you know that I sometimes go back and play certain games again. But it has to be like a special game, like The Witcher or so, or the Arkham games or something like that. But especially in this day and age, I don't go back to play games like Horizon Zero Dawn, even though I absolutely enjoyed that, when I have like 5 new games that I just don't find the time to play, right? I have still Visions of Mana here and haven't started yet. Shattered Space coming Monday. Age is there to play right now. I haven't played Astrobot, but I fully want to. Dragon Age is upon us. My days or my time is limited, right? So and that's the thing. There is no need for that. But again, that if people wouldn't be buying it, they wouldn't do it. And apparently a lot of people buy it. That's why they keep making them. So, yeah.
Yep.
So besides Horizon, what else? And we talked about this before the show started a little bit, that we are both a little disappointed that the new Metro game is a VR game. Because, I would love a proper Metro game.
I completely missed it in the showcase. I thought it was a new Metro game, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's good."
Yeah,
that's a really cool announcement. And then only afterwards on Twitter did I see the post that it was a VR game coming to PSVR 2 and Quest. I was like, "Oh god, it's VR. Never mind. Never mind." I thought it was a new Metro. Yeah, it is a new Metro, but only for VR enthusiasts. So that's disappointed.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
I was actually really hyped. I thought, oh, that's a good get. That's a really good get for them, especially when you've got Stalk around the corner coming out. And if PlayStation managed to get the rights to a new Metro game, but turns out it's just a VR game. And yeah.
I would love a new Metro, man. I love the Metro series so much. I think incredible atmosphere, right? Especially the first two that are more like corridor shooters, not with these open areas and so, like fantastic games. But yeah, it's a VR game. So, and we are both not into VR. What else? Alan Wake DLC. Right, great game. Probably going to be a great DLC. Multiplat though, yeah. And which is obviously no minus point per se, but of course you kind of want to see what PlayStation has to offer. Man, I have my PlayStation here. The last time I turned it on was when Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out, and over the next weeks or months, whenever I find a time, I will turn it again on for Astro Bot, and then again next year when Ghost comes out, right? Let's talk about Ghosts. I mean, that's the big one, right? Ghosts of Yotei.
Yes.
That was actually a nice surprise because obviously Ghost of Tsushima, critically acclaimed. It was a fantastic game, rightfully so. It was a great game. And people have been asking for a sequel. Yeah, it's not per se a sequel, so it's not like you pick up the story where Tsushima left off ended. They said they intend to do a franchise, a Ghost of franchise, and they have already planned other games with other protagonists, other stories, which is also an interesting thing to do, of course. But yeah, man, what did you think? Ghosts of Yotei?
Yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic. Looks fantastic. I like the art style. I like the way that it seems like there's a little bit more going on screen at any one time again. There was one scene where there was just obviously all of the heather and the grass and things, and your main character's Atsu is running through a field on horseback and surrounded by wild horses galloping beside them, like 30 wild horses galloping through the grass and things, and it's a lot going on at the same time. And, again, the first game's great. I'm doing another playthrough, as I mentioned earlier, on the PlayStation as my current platinum run game now. So it got me interested. Basically, it got me to go, actually, that's what I want to do before Ghost of Yotei comes out. I want to go back and platinum Ghost of Tsushima. So it's got me interested in chucking that back on and playing that again. And then it also got me interested to eventually go and watch Shogun on Disney and absolutely love that series. So they did a really good job on Ghost of Tsushima.
They did.
And I'm interested to see. And again, some people are complaining about this female protagonist, the idiots on Twitter. But the one thing I did notice straight away, which I hope is a kind of a hint towards the story, is this Atsu, the lead character, is wearing a Hanya mask. And if anybody knows anything about Japanese mythology, Hanya mask is the Hanya, or the mask, the face of the Hanya mask is to represent essentially a woman scorned, or a scorned lover. So it could be alluding to kind of what's happened to her and why she's so vengeful and why she's seeking to. Because obviously, what you see throughout the trailer is the lead character Atsu being extremely vengeful, and she's going out and killing people and hunting people down and things. So I would imagine there's some form of betrayal, or someone's been murdered before you start the game or something.
It could be. I didn't know that, man. Didn't know that. Yeah. Okay, interesting. But again, the art style is beautiful. It's very unique. We don't see that too often in video games, right?
The one thing I like about Ghost of Tsushima as well, and you've got to give them hats off for that, is the amount of options they give you for different play styles. So
with the different stances and
and they've got obviously not only just all the different stances, but also the traditional Japanese movie filter that you can put on the game. So everything's in black and white, and that again just a fantastic addition to choices and being able to play it in full Japanese with subtitles. Or in English, it's a lot of choice there for how you want to play the game and play through it. And I just it looks fantastic, and it was a pleasant surprise. Because I wasn't we all go into these state of plays with extremely low expectations, and none of us actually expect these days to get first party announcements for brand
of
new
that
games
caliber. Absolutely. I fully agree. Why do you think they did that? Because when you look at the last couple of state of plays, it was all more or less a snooze fest.
Absolutely.
And then
the last one they had Astrobot, which was a nice little charming end, but Astrobot's not the same caliber as Ghost.
I mean, Ghost is the kind of caliber that we want to see. That is what you want from the first-party studios, right? It goes along with the other big ones that they have. And Sucker Punch is one of their top-tier studios. And you usually would save these kind of announcements for a proper showcase, right?
You know what my thinking is? I'm kind of thinking Sony are done with big showcases.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder why, but
I think maybe it's even just down to resource management. They just think instead of spending all money and time putting together this big showcase, we'll just do these state of plays which take up significantly less resources, and we can put them out at a relatively decent cadence if we want to.
Yeah.
As opposed to doing this huge high budget.
Could definitely be. I mean, it is obviously a special thing that you decide as one of the big platform holders, the biggest platform holder in the world, right? To not have these banger like showcases, and people have been asking for those for years now. They didn't have a showcase in 2022. The one in 23 was absolutely shite, right?
Yes.
They don't have one of those this year, obviously. People have been hoping, okay, maybe for the PS5 Pro announcement, but then they had that, even though it was just a 10-minute thing, right? They had this State of Play Now. They're not doing one this year either. And I feel like after Concord and that obvious disastrous failure of Concord, they kind of had to let the community know, and we're still cooking on the games that you want. And and the roadmap for 2025 is so absolutely dry, right?
If it wasn't, we've got 2 games now. 2 games. We've got Death Stranding 2.
Death Stranding, right? That is also scheduled for next year. Yeah, let's see about that.
I'm going to put schedule on there because for some reason, people are doubting Fable is going to be next year. Probably the same reason why I'm doubting Death Stranding for next year. I fully have every confidence in Playground to be able to deliver on time because they've never not delivered on time. When they've said something's going to be ready, it's usually ready and it's usually very polished, regardless of what they've done. So I don't have a doubt about Playground and Fable releasing, but on Hideo Kojima, on the other hand, he set himself 2025. He hasn't mentioned when in 2025. But I also know Hideo Kojima's almost a perfectionist when it comes to what he produces. And if it's not ready to rock and roll next year, then he's not going to release it next year.
And he's also working on multiple projects now, right?
Yeah.
He's got 3 games in the making. He's also got the Xbox game. What was it called? Forgot the name. Anyway,
the name of it. More of a project name at the minute, though.
Yeah. But yeah, he's got multiple projects, and I'm not sure about that. And so, yeah, really, the roadmap for first party games, which Death Strand is an exclusive, but not a first party. It really doesn't look good. And so they kind of had to do something, right? Especially when you got a console coming and you have no announced games that anyone actually cares about. I know there's Marathon announced, but that game, not gonna do it.
Only that, but we're kind of hearing the same problems
like with Concord.
Like you heard with Concord. So I'm expecting similar results, to be fair.
I agree.
Definitely expect similar results. Unfortunately, the only bonus that Marathon has is that it's multiplat.
That is true.
The only bonus that could save it over Concord is the fact that it's releasing on everything.
That is true. I ran out of recorded matches from H, so I have to switch gameplay now. Yeah. Sorry, I was briefly a little distracted. Anyway, yeah. So Ghost is definitely was a very welcoming surprise, right?
Yeah.
What else? Hell is Us.
Hell is Us. That was a surprising one as well.
Yeah.
Multiplat game.
Multiplat game, yeah.
But it was, the only thing about this is I couldn't make out what type of action game this was.
Yeah.
Was this a Soulsy action game? Or was it more of an action RPG? I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, they said no map, no HUD, no pointers, no question marks, blah, blah, blah. Which kind of already...
It's like Elden Ring.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's a little like Elden Ring. Now, is the combat as difficult, or is it more action oriented? Is it more forgiving? I have no idea, but it looked good, man.
It looked
very
really
good.
Polished.
Yeah,
well, to be fair, it looked really good. It was a surprising one. I was like, "What the hell is this?" Like, I wasn't quite sure what I was seeing, and it was very flashy, loads of cool looking moves, cool looking attacks. It looked like a great looking game, but I just couldn't put my finger on what it was. I was like, I don't know what this is, but it looks cool.
It definitely does. It definitely does. So, yeah, let's see if it goes in the Souls direction. If so, it's a maybe for me, because I have to be in the mood for Souls-like games. I can't play them anytime I want. So, Dragon Age was there, man.
It was. Yeah.
I was a little surprised because I thought Xbox has
a mini boss fight type thing in there.
Yeah. I was a little surprised because I thought that they have the marketing rights with Xbox, because Dragon Age was at the Xbox show, right? But obviously it's not. So
I don't think any of them have. I don't think I've noticed this a couple of times over recent showcases where a couple of games have been showcased on Xboxes and then showcased on PlayStations. And I'm like, well, this is strange. So I think some of these big third parties are no longer doing this thing where you have the marketing rights. And I think they're just going, okay, we'll just showcase it on everybody's and we'll give everybody a new trailer, whatever we showcase it on.
Which kind of makes sense, right? Because the entire thing of being a multi-platform game is to advertise it to as many people as possible, and limiting yourself with a marketing deal towards one platform.
Yeah.
And not advertising it therefore on the other platform, where you also spent a lot of money to develop the respective version for. Kind of makes sense. I was just surprised, but man, I'm excited for Dragon Age. I think it looks fantastic. It looks like they're going exactly in the direction I want. I know that the hardcore fans are always complaining about the action-oriented combat, but I like that. I do like that. I also like that they kind of went back to the more linear play style, not go like fully open world and this is it, right? It looks like the different classes are deep enough to actually deserve the labeling of a proper RPG. And I like that Solus is back as an antagonist, right? I can't wait. Dragon Age looks like an absolute day one buy for me. So, what did you think?
Yeah, it looks good. My only thing about a lot of these games is I don't know where I'm going to get all the time to
play them. Yeah, that's a problem. Good problem to have, but it's a problem.
It's really good. It's a first world problem. Yeah, first world problem having so many games out that you just don't have time to cover them all. But no, it looks good. And much like myself, I am happy that they're going more into the action route than they are how Dragon Age used to play.
Yeah.
I much prefer action RPGs than I do.
Yeah.
Kind of weird tactical RPG things.
Agreed. Agreed.
So yeah, super interesting. I want to dive back into another Horizon game quickly. Horizon Lego.
Oh, well, not for me.
You're going to dive into it?
No.
You're going to get it for the kids?
No, I'm not.
No.
I'm actually thinking about.
You know what I did notice though?
Pardon me?
I did notice that this is probably the first Lego game that is current gen only, which is why it looks so shiny. Apart from being on Nintendo Switch, it's only on PlayStation 5 and PC. Obviously, there's a Switch version, but it isn't on PlayStation 4 and it isn't on kind of any of the older hardware, which to me is why it looks so damn smooth. And the props that I want to give it is it looks more in line with how the Lego movies look in their visual qualities.
Yeah,
the visual qualities on the Lego movies look phenomenal. And if you have a look at the quality of the graphics in play for Horizon Lego, it looks pretty much in par with the films for that. So it looks super shiny. I might pick it up on Nintendo Switch just for shits and giggles. Just to want to play a PlayStation game on Nintendo.
Yeah,
that would be funny. But yeah, I think that looks. It does look cool. It does look cool, and Aloy has a personality in this game, so it's even better.
Yeah, there you go.
Automatically makes it better than the Horizon games.
Come on, that's not fair. The Horizon games are good, man. Especially the first one, the second one.
It's just the lead character, it has absolutely no personality.
Yeah, well, a lot of characters don't have that big of a personality in video games.
I can forgive NPCs having no personality, and you can laugh at them.
no.
But when your lead character just doesn't care about what's happening,
Yeah, I know. My only problem with Horizon Forbidden West was that she always tells you what to do. Like, you go into a room, you have to.
That was the same problem that I had in Ragnarok, though, with Atreus.
Yeah, it was the exact same.
All the puzzles.
All the puzzles.
Look at this over here.
Yeah, yeah. And it's the same in Horizon Forbidden West. Oh, you see that hook up there? Maybe if I pull that and then move the stone to the corner. Oh, that could work. Thank you. You didn't give me like 5 seconds to figure it out myself. But other than that, it was a good game. I had a blast playing it, man. Yeah. So, anything else you want to talk about from the Monster Hunter Wild? Got a release date for February. February is going to look rowdy, man. We have Assassin's Creed Shadows coming now there. We have Avowed coming there. I feel like Monster Hunter World will suffer the same fate for me, like when World came out. Because when World came out, I really wanted to play Monster Hunter because I do enjoy those games. But these are these kind of games that you kind of have to play co-op, right? And I didn't have the time when Monster Hunter World came out, and I picked it up like, I don't know, 3-4 months after its release, and all my friends have already moved on, and I kind of had to play solo. And then, solo it was okay, but for a while, but it's not like the same. And then the same will happen with Monster Hunter Wilds. If you pick that game up like a couple of months later, nobody's gonna be playing it anymore, and because I'm not postponing Avowed, and I also really want to play Assassin's Creed Shadows. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool. It looks like they've added a much more.
Absolutely.
It looks like it's much more story focused. Much more story focused. When I remember playing through Worlds, there was kind of a lingering story in the background, but it really wasn't
there.
Really care if you paid attention to it. This one looks like there's a story to it. There's someone that's clearly upset about something, and they want to take revenge over the certain beast. So there's something there, and there's a story there, and I hope they capitalize on that. And the people who love Monster Hunter World, I hope you thoroughly enjoy Wild when it comes out. But yeah, like me, there's just other games that I'd rather play, unfortunately. But I'm glad it's coming out. Last one for me that I want to highlight before we move on is the Midnight Walk, the indie game.
Oh yeah,
that was announced. That looked really cool.
That looked interesting, indeed. Yeah,
it looked like Little Nightmares, but creepier. Creepy Little Nightmares again. But no, it looked really good. Again, I think that's a PlayStation, or at least a temporary PlayStation exclusive, with it being an indie. Whether that comes to another platform, who knows? But that's coming out on PlayStation 5 and PSVR 2 next year in the spring.
Yes, it does.
So let's hope it finds a little slot to release next year that isn't crowded by giant AAA games in the spring. But no, it looks interesting. Definitely. A little shout out.
And Palworld is now on PlayStation as well, by the way.
Yes. It's had loads of updates since I last played it.
Yeah.
I do need to get back to it and mop up the couple of little boss fight achievements that I've got to do, because obviously there's bosses in certain areas, and I want to go through and kill them bosses, and then I'll be done with it. And it'd be interesting to see what the updates have done to improve the game. Whilst I thoroughly enjoyed it on Xbox when it released, of course it is still early access. Even when it releases on PlayStation 5, it's still technically early access, because they're still constantly adding to it and refining it and adding things and improving things. But when I was playing it on Xbox, there were certain things where the world wouldn't load in, or you'd drop through the floor and you'd get stuck in the map and drown. So it's certainly It was an interesting game. Fanto's rightly pointed out there, Palworld is not available in Japan. For reasons we know.
I don't know. I didn't know that. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, obviously because of the ongoing Pokemon lawsuit.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we will, because that is
ridiculous.
People thought that was about copyright, and it isn't. And it's even worse than what people think. That would have much far-reaching consequences for the industry if Nintendo were to win this.
Yeah.
And I don't think they will, believe it or not. I don't actually think they will. Because I think if the judge looks at that and says, you can't patent a game mechanic the way you're trying to, but we'll get into it later. We'll
talk about that. Exactly. All right, Dutch. Let us move to the Xbox showcase. The Xbox Tokyo Game Showcase. They opened up with Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Right? Which I think is a nice touch for a Japanese-based show. Obviously, the focus is that particular market. Yeah, I've seen a couple of people online. We get another June showcase, and now that's expectations. Yeah, keep them in check. Look at what they did over the last couple of years with a Tokyo Game Showcase. They
didn't even show up last year.
They didn't show it last year, but they had a Tokyo Game Showcase, and I thought, in general, don't expect like the biggest announcements at the Xbox Tokyo Game Showcase. This is a special showcase for that market. But opening up with Metal Gear, story trailer for Metal Gear was a nice touch and is, I think, a good message for that particular market. Even though I'm not personally super interested in Metal Gear because I don't enjoy the Kojima games. I know a lot of people do. And it looks like one of these it's a remake, it's a remaster, right? Properly done, at least. I think good opener for that show. Then they announced a couple of things, like StarCraft Remaster and StarCraft 2 coming to Game Pass that day, which is cool, definitely. Still, I didn't Google while podcasting, but I still think it's just PC Game Pass. But yeah, I mean, I still think, listen, real-time strategies games are the only games that play better on PC, so I'm fine with that. I know I played a lot of StarCraft 2, but I'm not really sure if I ever played the campaign. So I fully intend to check out StarCraft 2's campaign once I get off my age addiction. So yes, StarCraft 2, and the StarCraft 1 remaster. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a nice addition. People are waiting for it. Hopefully, it does go onto console as well as PC. But not only having StarCraft 1 and 2 remaster, but dropping again into Game Pass for people who haven't played it before and they don't really want to pick up a game that they're not sure on, then at least they can try it. If they love it, then of course, happy days. But with it being a Blizzard game, that means it's going to remain in Game Pass forever. So enjoy.
Absolutely. Then they also announced new Age of Mythology content, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool to do it that quickly after the game came out. I feel that is a good strategy. Not keep supporting the game after people dropped off, because I feel like, and it goes for many games, not just Age of Mythology, but for many games, for me, it's sometimes hard to go back to a game that I've played a year ago when the DLC drops, you know. It's the same with like Alan Wake 2. Like, I really enjoyed that, but I don't remember the controls anymore, the mechanics anymore, and you know what I mean? It's like, and then I sometimes feel like, do I want to go back and figure it out all again? I don't know. And so I do like it when games are being supported that quickly after launch, as long as I'm still playing them, right? So that's cool. Then they showed another trailer for Starfield Shattered Space, which is coming out this Monday, right?
Yep.
5 p.m. Berlin time. So I can't wait, man. Dive back into Shattered Space. It's gonna be fully localized, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Full voice acting for Japan, which is a nice touch that they go or put in that the extra. Yeah, they go the extra mile. They put in the effort, right? In a market that isn't that big. I mean, yes, Phil talked about we have more console players than ever before in the Japanese market, but it's still a relatively low number. But obviously, they really, really want to establish themselves in that market, and I've felt like that is a great message, especially in a market that is heavily console focused. That is cool. And by the way, I noticed, and maybe that's just me, but I don't know how you felt, but throughout the show, they mentioned multiple times the console. Mm-hmm. Multiple times in different context, but it was obvious that they were like, yeah, we are here for, and I haven't, and I think a lot of people feel that way, that Xbox has given up the console strategy. In that showcase, a different, I felt, maybe that's just me interpreting things into this that aren't there, but they mentioned the console quite a lot in that showcase, and I was happy to see that. Yeah, that they still at least know that they are making a console, right? And providing a console. So that was cool. Indiana Jones got another trailer, also going to be fully localized, by the way.
Yeah, it'll be strange having a Indiana Jones speaking Japanese.
Yeah. That was funny in the trailer to see him speaking. And the Germans. They localized the Germans, right? Man, listen, I'm super excited. I think the game looks phenomenal. Can't wait to play it. But we've seen enough of that. Also for Starfield Shattered Space. We've seen more than enough. We've played Starfield. We know what Starfield is. And I'm super excited. That's a little bit my thing. A lot of the stuff they've shown, we've seen like 100 times before. But yeah, indie looks obviously fantastic. Then they had a bunch of obviously Japanese games. Anything that stood out to you of those? It's an entire list. They've shown like 10 different Japanese games.
Nope.
I felt the same. Like, I know it's cool that they have these games, and I do like my JRPGs. God knows I do. But nothing of those Japanese games really stood out, right? I think the big announcements came at the end, right?
Yeah, the only one that kind of slightly interested in, but I'll wait for sale for, was Metaphor. ReFantasio.
Which one was that?
There is a demo out for that now as well, so if anybody's interested on seeing what that's about, they can go and pick up the demo, and the progress carries over into the full game. But that's like an action an action RPG.
Yeah. Now I know which one that was. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But obviously, it didn't stood out enough so that I would remember it. So,
But again, that's another game that's been shown multiple times now.
Yeah.
But that's a demo has literally just released for it that carries over into the full game. So you can try it. You can download it right now, test it, see if you like it, and if you do, happy days. There's several hours worth of gameplay on that demo as well, so it's not just a short and sweet thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. So the big news came at the end. Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster is now available on Xbox. A lot of people have been waiting for that, and yeah, the insiders have been again talking about things like Final Fantasy 16 or the remakes of 7 and stuff like that in advance. I don't think that those will actually ever come.
I think 16
maybe 16
will.
Yeah, 16 could be, but
I stand by with 7. I stand by the fact that I think 7 will come when the final part of the trilogy is done.
Yeah, but by that time, Final Fantasy 7 remake will be at least almost 10 years old, right?
Yeah. I'll still buy it again.
I love them, but I'm not sure if I'm going to buy them again. If that's the case,
I've got, with Pixel Remaster now on the console, I have every Final Fantasy game that is available on Xbox.
Yeah. I know you're a collector, man.
Yeah. So
I typically don't double dip with games,
Yeah, that's the only one I have, and I've almost triple dipped because I've got the Pixel Remasters on PC.
Yeah.
I haven't got the Pixel Remasters on PlayStation, but I have got 7 Remake, 7 Rebirth, 16 on there.
Yeah.
I have original 7, 8, 9, and 10 on PlayStation as well. But then I've got 12 and all of the 13s and 15 on Xbox.
And
I've got 7 Remake integrated on PC. I haven't got Rebirth, of course, because I haven't got it on PC yet.
Yeah.
I haven't got 16 on PC yet. But no, I'm still playing through the DLC for 16, so I've got no rush to pick it up another time yet.
Yeah.
But when it comes out for Xbox, I'll happily play through 16 again on Xbox.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm super glad. As much as I like playing my RPGs on PC, and I played the Pixel Remaster on PC, I want to play 6 Pixel Remaster on the Xbox, and eventually I can, because 6 is my favorite Final Fantasy. So
yeah, sweet.
Woo!
Sweet. No, I'm glad. Obviously, Square and Xbox are now having a way better partnership than they had a couple of years ago. And I think that's the best message coming out there, because I don't think that whenever Final Fantasy 17, for instance, will come out, that it will not be like a multi-platform title. I doubt that.
Multi-plat, 100%. Yeah.
And that's, by the way, the only way I see that the 7 remake and Rebirth will make its way to Xbox is when the 3rd comes out, that they then release all 3, not after, but really along with it. Could be. That could be, but yeah.
That's actually a really good shout. They released the 3rd part as multi-plat along with the other 2 for Xbox on the same day. That would be a really good shout.
Yeah.
But the other big one, another big series comes to Xbox and Game Pass. Of course, we got the first in the Mana series earlier this month or so ago.
Yeah.
With Visions of Mana, which was the first Mana game on Xbox.
Yeah.
But now we have Trials and Legends of Mana on Xbox and Xbox Game Pass.
The Mana collection is basically there, right?
Yeah, just the one that's you're waiting for. Just the one.
Secret of Mana still not there yet, but it's not available. Yeah, you never know. You really don't. But Legend of Mana and especially Trials of Mana being in there, really happy about that. And I've now a lot of Mana games to play because I haven't played Trials of Mana yet, and Visions is installed, but I haven't started it yet.
Are you going to start this weekend?
Pardon me? Maybe if I can pull myself away from age, maybe I will.
I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Come on, you got me to buy Visions of Mana.
That's
remember
true.
This.
Yeah, I remember. I kind of have to play it just to be able to talk to you about it.
Yes.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. So, and that wraps up the Xbox showcase. So, nothing super big, nothing super special. Definitely a showcase worth watching, though. Especially if you're into Japanese games, I would say, right? Yeah.
But this is what we can expect. This is the thing about Xbox's Tokyo Game Show showcases, is they are very much oriented specifically to Japanese games. Yes, they had indie in there. Yes, they had Shattered Space. Yes, they talked about Flight Simulator.
Yeah.
But very briefly, especially for Flight Sim and things like that. It was like touching on it quickly. The main thing they focused on and heavily focused on is the Japanese games and the Japanese audience. Whereas if PlayStation did a TGS showcase, they focused on PlayStation games just in general.
Yeah, more Western audience oriented. And I mean, listen, Xbox had...
the thing about Xbox's TGS showcases, though, is every year I go into it knowing that this is definitely going to be
Japanese focused.
Japanese audiences. And if there's anything that's going to interest me, it'll be maybe something from a Capcom or maybe something from a Sega.
Square.
Or maybe something from Square.
Yeah.
And if either of those three are there, then there's going to be something I like or something I might be interested in. But at least I know what to expect when I watch TGS from Xbox. I'm like, right, this is definitely going to be mostly not for me. But maybe it's one or two things that are.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, Xbox had many good showcases this year already. They had a great developer direct in January, right? They had a fantastic showcase in June. That showcase was absolutely fantastic, right? And they had a great booth at Gamescom, even though that Keighley show was very controversial with the announcement of indie coming to PlayStation. But they are doing the shows that we want, right?
Yeah.
Which is, it feels just, and even though the Tokyo Show Games was mostly not for me, I appreciate them doing that because I already got my showcase this year, which is what I'm still missing from Sony. I don't have my showcase from Sony yet, and I will not get one this year again, and so I'm glad that they do these kind of Tokyo shows, these Japanese focused shows, and for that it was a solid show, right?
Yep. 100%. 100%.
All right, Dutch. Let us move away a little bit from Xbox and let's talk about Ubisoft. For a moment. We'll get back to Xbox a little later in the show. Ubisoft delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows. They canceled all previews before that, right? A day or two before the announcement, they canceled all previews for the show, for the game, and then they announced they are delaying Assassin's Creed Shadows, that they are going to move away from their traditional classic season pass model, right? Also, the first DLC will be free for all those who pre-order the game. And that comes right off the criticism on the game for not being accurate enough with the Japanese historic culture, right? And the stock prices dropped, obviously, again, and there is something going on at Ubisoft. Star Wars Outlaws underperformed. Even though, again, you can see some gameplay footage right now here on the stream. It is a good game, absolutely, but it didn't meet sales expectations. Whenever a Ubisoft game comes out, it has become like a thing to criticize them for their games, even though I feel like it's sometimes a little unfair, because when I look at Ubisoft, yes, they do have that kind of formula to their games, but usually they all play really well and different enough. Yeah, when I look at a Watch Dogs, to a Far Cry, to an Assassin's Creed, to an Avatar, to a Star Wars, you can tell it's a Ubisoft game, but in a good way. I mean, certain mechanics simply work in games, right? So why get rid of them? And they always come out as a finished product. Always. Like, every major game that came out this year didn't feel to me like it was done. There was always something missing. Whether it's the performance mode, whether it's simple things like a photo mode, or they are buggy as hell, or whatever. And the Ubisoft games come out finished. Star Wars Outlaws came out with 3 graphical modes on consoles, right? They have the quality 30 FPS mode, they have the 40 FPS mode, and the 60 FPS mode. Photo mode was in there. I played through the entire game without any really noticeable bugs. There were the occasional glitches and collision errors and stuff like that, but which game doesn't have that? But to me, these games feel like they are massive games. They are finished. I don't feel like I'm not getting my money's worth as a day one buyer, right? Dragon's Dogma 2 came out. I loved the game, but man, why was there no photo mode? It came like 6 or 8 weeks after it came out, when everybody finished the game, and performance mode and stuff like that, right? It just sucks. And with Ubisoft games, they are complete. They are complete. They are fun to play. Are they the most creative games out there? Absolutely not. They are not. But I always get my money's worth, right? They are, and so they also released one of the best games I've played this year in Prince of Persia, by the way. Yeah, insanely good Metroidvania. And they are the only third publisher that are still like providing showcases for the fans and things like that. And everyone's hating on them, right? I know there are issues within the company. We have the DEI discussions. We have the culture problems probably in there, things like that. But a lot of companies do have those issues, and everyone is still just making it a thing to hate on Ubisoft games. And now Assassin's Creed comes in the setting that everyone was hoping for so many years. Yeah. And they decide, okay, after other shitstorm about the game not being accurate enough. I mean, it's a video game. I don't know how you feel about that, but I mean, it's a video game. Of course, it's not gonna be like a historic documentation and everything is absolutely correct. At the end of the day, it's gotta be fun to play. That's what matters, right? And Assassin's Creed Shadows looks fantastic from what I've seen, right? They are going back to the more stealth-focused approach when you play as her. You have the more combat-oriented gameplay when you play as him. I forgot the two names, sorry. I'm blanking on the names. But you know what I mean? It does look fantastic, and now it's getting delayed into next year, where you have obviously big competition with Ghost of Yotei, and even though Ubisoft came out and said, hey, there's enough room for both of them, it's gonna, and we talked about it earlier, Monster Hunter Wilds is going to come out, Avowed is going to come out in February. It's a crowded month, and they put Assassin's Creed Shadows on the exact same day like Avowed, right? I'm not sure, man. What's going on there within Ubisoft? What is happening here, Dutch?
It's hard to say, and I think I'm the same as you. I don't understand the kickback for Shadows in representation, and people want to nitpick what is historically accurate or not. But then we go into things like Shogun, who's been universally praised for the characters and being a huge Japanese cast and things like that.
Yeah,
it's absolutely awesome. But then, if you pay enough of attention to the cast, there is an Englishman that's come over from London in the show who's assigned Hatamoto, which is a high-ranking samurai. So it's a white Englishman who doesn't speak Japanese, is announced by the Lord as his Hatamoto, which is a high-ranking bannerman, samurai. And this is essentially the kind of thing they were saying here about Shadows, which was, how can this guy be a samurai? He wasn't a samurai. He was just this. Well, yeah, but it's again, A, it's a story. B, there are disputed on both sides whether or not he was a samurai or what his rank was or what he was, but he definitely existed. He was definitely known by the people at the time. What ranking he was is the only dispute, but this is where people have kicked up a fuss about it, and I just think it's ridiculous, to be fair. I think it's massively ridiculous, because unless somebody was actually there, they wouldn't theoretically know what ranking he was or what he did. It's only thrown down in law and in scripture as to the fact that he existed, and the terminology used was undecided as to what they meant in whether or not he was assigned a samurai or a god of the Lord, or not. All that being said, there is absolutely zero people kicking off about Shogun or a white man being a Hatamoto, which is a high-ranking samurai, despite not being Japanese. In that show, in fact, that entire show was universally praised and has now got a second series and a third series lined up. So it goes to show that it is nitpicking, and I think especially when it's racist tendencies nitpicking. Who cares if it's a black person? Like, literally who cares? There's obviously some representation to it in the background as to why they decided to use that story for that person. So I don't care. The one thing that looks absolutely cool about the game is the fact that there are two play styles. Both. One of them is this big, lumbersome, heavy samurai who's got like a heavy mode, and the other one's more a sneaky assassin, like you used to in ninja, like you used to in Assassin's Creed. So you've got two playstyle options there, and you can be one or the other. You don't have to play all the way through as one and all the way through as the other. So you've got options, but I think a lot of it is just down. a lot of it can be in part as well to potential. I think some boredom in Ubisoft's open worlds in general. Just them, every other game, if not most games they put out, are extremely large open world RPGs.
Yeah.
And no matter what one you get, whether it be Avatar, or whether it be Outlaws, or whether it be AC, any of those games are large open world games, and they're a big undertaking. And I think there could be this market steal where they're just going, we know what we're going to get from a Ubisoft game. This isn't something I need to pick up now because I know I can come back to it at some point down the line and play through it.
Yeah.
So there isn't a big rush to play any of these games, especially when, and although you've said there hasn't been any issues, it hasn't. None of them have done anything to stand out in a crowded space either.
Yeah, they don't invent a new wheel. You know, it's their games are not the most creative games out there. Absolutely not. But again, there are certain formulas in games that just work and are fun. And
they do, and I agree with that. And I think that's part of the. I think that's also part of their problem, is that people know what they can expect, and because they know what to expect with a Ubisoft game, and they know there isn't anything that's reinventing the wheel and nothing new.
Yeah,
and it's just another Ubi game. They're looking for, a lot of people are just looking for new experiences and something different and something that they haven't done before or haven't seen before. So when Ubisoft are releasing a new big game, unfortunately, we all know what's going to happen, whether that's an AC Shadows or an AC Hex or any of the other ACs that are lined up. We know, okay, we're going to have a protagonist. There is going to be a rough storyline, but there's going to be a big open world to explore. There's going to be some towers to get to the top of that will open up certain parts of the map. There's going to be some form of eagle or something above that's going to give us bird's eye vision. Like, we know it's the formula they use and it works, and they reskin it and put new voices in it and things like that. And it's, if you like those kind of games, then you can pick it up. You know what to expect. But like you say, it isn't reinventing the wheel. It's nothing new.
Yeah.
And I think especially when you've got a big crowded space these days, unless you're doing something that is really catching the eye, and I think you need to, especially these days, with how many games are releasing at such a big frequency, you need to do something that stands out and is big, bold, and different in order to catch people's attention and time and money.
Yeah.
And I just think Ubisoft haven't got enough now. They make good games, but you know what to expect, and none of them stand out with a pack. So no one's in a rush to buy them.
Yeah.
I think that's part of their problem.
It's definitely part of their problem. I also believe that, you know, the industry as a whole is obviously struggling. And games these days, with all the technical aspects that we do expect in games, we want motion captured animations, we want shiny new graphics, we want proper audio, and so on. Games simply take longer to make, and that goes especially for bigger projects, and their games are some of the biggest games out there, right? With huge open worlds and huge ambition to visuals and so on. That's absolutely the case. And at the same time, Ubisoft is a gigantic corporation, right? With, I think it was something like 20,000 people worldwide employed. You kind of have to find efficiencies there. And I think that's also something that they are struggling with, right? Not every game in a year 24 is going to sell you like tens of millions of copies. Not even if it's labeled Star Wars. It's just not going to happen, because the effect is games take longer to make. They are more expensive to make. and the competition is significantly bigger than it has been like 10 years ago, right? Now, not 1 month is going by without at least 2 AAA games releasing. And I remember the days during the N64 era where you had like 3 major releases a year, and that's it, right? And we are not living in that world anymore. We have tons of
3 a month.
2, 3 a month major games that come out. We do have, of course, games as a service titles. You're not just fighting for money, you're fighting for time, right?
Yeah.
You have X-Defined also underperformed, obviously, for Ubisoft. It wasn't like a complete failure, like, I don't know, a Concord.
And you've got to think outside of our bubble, where we pick up significantly more games than the average consumer.
Absolutely. And even us.
Up a lot. Like, if you're thinking like the amount of games that come out every month to an average, regular casual consumer, which is the vast majority of a lot of these companies' markets anyway, is the casual consumer, not the hardcore. You've got to justify your 60 or 70 or whatever you're putting into it, because that's a 70. Not every normal casual consumer is going to buy all 3 major releases that month at the cost of almost 200 quid.
Absolutely. yeah. That's the thing, right? I buy at least 2 major AAA games a month, and also I pick up smaller games, but that's not the norm. That's extremely out of the bigger scope, right? And then you look at the casuals, and they spend their time in the Fortnites and Call of Duties, and you know what I mean. And that's what I mean. You're not just fighting for the money itself, but for the time. Who has the time to play all those games, right? And at the same time, the game itself costs a lot more money to make. So and Ubisoft is really struggling with that. They have a huge organization, and the bigger the organization becomes, the bigger the overhead becomes, the waterhead, is like, and they are definitely not the most efficient company, and they are struggling big time right now, right? A lot of the investors are calling for a change in leadership, and that Yves Guillemot needs to be replaced.
They've been calling for Yves Guillemot's head for a while, though. To be fair, they've been wanting him out for a long time.
And at the same time now, they kind of need to Assassin's Creed Shadows to be super successful, right? So let's see if the move of a delay into a very crowded February, right, is the right thing to do. You're also going up against Avowed. Avowed is not known
Monster Hunter is going to do the biggest damage, I think.
Monster Hunter is going to do big damage. I also believe, like, at the end of the day, you can only play so many games at the same time, and then what do you do? Avowed is out for free. I know it's not really for free. You have to still have the Game Pass subscription, but it feels free, right? It's gonna be tough for them. And it's also interesting to see that they kind of want to move away from their classic season pass model, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if it's gonna be successful. I do hope that they will find a way, because I don't really want Ubisoft to go away. I
don't think they'll go away. I think it's a big enough company for it to survive, but I think it's going to need a shift.
Yeah.
I think, and I've said this before as well, as much as we like the trusted Ubisoft formula, I think the need to try and get into a couple more linear games.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really do think the need to get into try themselves at a nice linear story game.
That's why I don't understand why they're sitting on Splinter Cell, right?
Yeah.
This is exactly what a Ubisoft would need. Like, people love the IP, the franchise. It's not open world.
But you've seen what they've done to Ghost Recon, though.
Yeah.
Like Ghost Recon, you had Advanced Warfighter, which was great. You had like all of the original Ghost Recons, which were fantastic. And then they did Wildlands, which was okay. It was good. Big open world version of Ghost Recon. And then the last one, which Breakpoint, which didn't do as well as they'd hoped. And they're doing it, but again, it's this overly expansive, humongous open world Ghost Recon.
Yeah.
Which is both good and bad, because of course when you're doing a modern war game, but when it's just a modern stealth war game like Ghost Recon, and it's massively expansive like that, it can also feel a bit overwhelming. So I think they need to continue making your big open worlds, but I think they need to branch off and have a team that makes
and take a few more creative risks as well. Stop chasing the trends. X-Defiant came out 5 years too late. That's just the matter of fact, right? So, yeah. That's some other news that I really didn't like to hear this week is Donut, right?
Yeah.
I think they made my game of the year so far in Banishers. I really enjoyed Banishers. But Banishers and Chizon was also fantastic, by the way. Great indie game.
Well, great,
absolutely did not meet expectations. And especially Banishers.
The only one I'm thinking, I'm just thinking, what and it sounds horrible to say it, but as much as we like Jusong, you can't look at that game and have high expectations for sales. I'm sorry, but you can't. It's a very linear climbing game.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what
I agree, you know what I mean? But I don't think that they expected to sell 10 million copies of Jusong.
Yeah.
And you look at Banishers, that game has absolutely the potential to be a massive success, but it unfortunately underperformed. And honestly, Banishers is probably my game of the year so far. I enjoyed that game. It was so well written. Especially the side quests, man. They were on like a Witcher level of quality of writing, yeah. And the gameplay is a mixture of in between God of War and Tomb Raider and maybe a Blake's Tale or something. It was a fantastic game from start to finish. I so did enjoy it, but unfortunately not enough people picked it up. Even though they had a big marketing campaign for that. With the support of Focus Home, they had a huge marketing campaign for a game of that scope. It underperformed, and they announced that they are refocusing now on wider audiences. Whatever that means. Usually something like that does not mean something good. Because a game like Banishers is special because it didn't appeal to the super mass market. And usually that means some sort of co-op experience, multiplayer, games as a service. I don't know. That's what I was thinking. They didn't specify what means that they are going to refocus on wider audiences per se, but that's usually what that means, right? Chase some trend. And everyone's chasing games as a service right now for some reason, even though nobody has success anymore as a newcomer. I don't want that. I love the Donut games. Vampires was also fantastic. it's, I don't know. What do you think, man?
Yeah, it is a shame. When you look at the two games that released, Jusant and Banishers, I often think some of these people that are funding these games have a massive disconnect on the audiences that the games are produced for. Like, where do you get your? I would love to go into some of these meetings and say, where are you getting your expectations from? Like, what expectations? What realistically, what expectations do you have for Jusant and Banisher's Ghost of New Eden? Where did you get your expectations from? What level of expectations did you think to have for these games? That one of them was on Xbox and in Game Pass. Fantastic. For everybody who hasn't played it, go play it. It's a fantastic, relaxed climbing game with a nice little story in the background, a few little puzzles and things for you to do. Well worth checking out. But for Banishers, a game that was, you had to go out and to buy it and pick it up and play it. Some of these third parties just don't advertise it enough, or advertise it in a way that's going to be viewed by the mass market. So I don't know where they're getting their expectations from for these games. To say that they didn't meet, what expectations do you have for a game that you don't publicize?
Yeah, well, again, by the way, I put on some Banishers gameplay since we are talking about it, because everybody needs to see how good this game is, man. I don't know, they had a good art. I saw advertisements everywhere, man. They had a great marketing campaign of course, it is not like a Call of Duty marketing campaign or something, but I saw a lot of advertisements for Banishers, and so yeah, I don't know where they get their expectations from, but at the end of the day, they look at the investment they make, they look at the scope, the potential audiences, and at the end of the day, they have their experts for some estimations. I mean, a lot of games underperform these days. We just talked about that because the gaming space is or became so big, right? With so many choices and so many ongoing games that take up the time, and it is what it is. But yeah, I just wanted. I don't want Donut to go into a direction to chase some trends or something. They should keep making those special games. And it's very unfortunate in my opinion. But yeah. It is what it is. Dutch, a little earlier we already touched upon the Palworld Nintendo lawsuit. So Palworld might get sued from Nintendo for not the classic copyright infringements. It's not about them suing them for what a lot of for like copying characters or things, which is what a lot of people assumed, because when you look at Palworld, you automatically think of Pokemon, obviously. Yeah, just from the looks of it. But they are suing for stealing gameplay ideas and gameplay mechanics, and I think this has a much wider consequence for the entire gaming industry, because at the end of the day, if you think it through, then every shooter is stealing the idea of another one. Is the end result then that we only have one shooter out there, one strategy game, one racing game, and so on? So before I share my thoughts, what do you think, man? What do you think about this?
I don't think it's got a leg to stand on, and I think it's very presumptuous of Nintendo to say, okay, well, we can be the only ones that have a ball throwing, monster catching mechanic in an open zone. Like, so you're going to claim the entire monster hunting, monster catching genre.
Yeah.
Nobody else can make that kind of game of that kind of mechanics. You can't throw a ball or an object in an open zone to catch a monster.
Yeah.
Is what you're trying to claim. Nobody else can do that. I just don't think, and not only that, but their patent for that specific mechanic released was filed for after Palworld was announced.
Yeah.
And then they filed another patent for one of the mechanics after Palworld had released. So it's very, very snidey little business there. And honestly, when a judge looks at the time scale, and that's all Palworld needs to do, they just need to go, listen, this game has been in production for this amount of time. These are the mechanics we use. The patents that they filed for this specific mechanic was filed after our game had launched. Like, this is ridiculous. They're trying to claim an entire genre of game types because their game isn't evolving mechanically. And that's ultimately what is happening here. Nintendo was saying, well, we don't want anybody else to have success, so we're going to try and claim something that everybody's using, which is monster hunting.
Yeah.
It's obscene. And again, like you say, it's this knock-on effect. If that was the case, then somebody could file a patent for kicking a ball, in which case then all sports games could no longer be made. And then
that's the thing, right? Like Lily in the chat says,
and then Forza and GT and fucking everything with car driving.
Like Lily in the chat says, everyone's copy everyone else. That's just a fact. Show me one video game that has not copied mechanics, gameplay, ideas, and things from another game. It's impossible to make a game in 2024 and not use a gameplay mechanic, or something like that hasn't been done before, right?
And this is the difference between Palworld and Pokemon, and this is what Pokemon don't realize. The reason Palworld was so successful is because it melded the traditional catching beast mechanic in with base building crafting of Minecraft. So you meld these two popular things in together, and it got super popular because, okay, I'm building a massive base where I can employ these pals that I'm catching to do the work for me, whilst I'm going away and collecting other things, and they collecting things in the base, and so on and so forth. It's just bonkers. They have the audacity to do something like that in the genre, and essentially it's kind of one of them like unspoken rules, but in the genre, you don't like. Of course, everybody, if they really wanted to, could come up with a brand new idea and say, okay, we're going to do like Twisted Metal, for instance. Okay, we're going to do our car racing. However, we're going to have guns on the cars, and we're going to get people to destroy other cars.
Yeah.
Or Mario, we're going to do kart racing, but we're going to have objects that you can throw on the track and things. Like, imagine if they went out and patented the kart racing mechanic now, which prevented Crash Team Racing coming out, or any other kart racing game coming out, because it's a kart racing game.
Yeah.
It's just obscene. It's pettiness from a company that is short on ideas, and they don't want anybody else to be competitive in that same space.
Yeah. And it's especially interesting to see that they are actually trying to fight a little indie developer on this. They are not taking on, one of the big guys, an EA, a Ubisoft, or that have their own army of lawyers behind them. They're going after the little guy, right?
The funny thing is they went after. They could have done this a while back, but they chose to wait until they got significantly popular and made a substantial amount of money to go, right, okay, now you've made absolutely boatloads of money, we're now going to sue you.
Yeah, true. Let me shout out Dave Ramos, who sends in a channel member chat for being a channel member for 39 months. So first of all, man, thank you so much for the continued support. And he says, gentlemen, happy Friday. That's the super member chat. Happy Friday to you, and happy Friday, of course, to everyone here in the chat.
Thank Fanto said something in our chat as well, actually, which is quite interesting. Warner Brothers copyrighted the Nemesis system, and now it's dead.
Yeah, true. Although they said they are going to bring that back in Wonder Woman whenever that comes out.
The system that they created, because nobody else could create something like that.
Yeah.
Then nothing else has been expanded upon. Whereas if somebody else could.
And it sucks, man, because the idea of the Nemesis system was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Something new.
In the ranks and
the execution wasn't perfect. The execution, the idea was absolutely awesome. The execution wasn't perfect, but that's the thing, right? Look at the first shooters. And what they've evolved into. This is what it takes. You need other ideas, other developers take a shot at certain mechanics, improve them, and make them into great gameplay mechanics. Yeah, it's a fantastic example. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, Dutch. We are almost 2.5 hours into the show, and today we have tons of community questions. So let's get to them. All right. The community questions, as always, you can write in usually on Wednesdays. We put up posts on YouTube, on X, Twitter, and everywhere else, so that you guys can write us in your questions or topics you would like us to discuss. And a lot of people did so this week. So the first one comes from BT Maverick, who asks, will we see PlayStation's PSSR upscaler on the PC, especially with their new remaster Horizon Zero Dawn? Thank you, guys. No. So, we don't really know yet, but my educated guess would be no.
Yep.
Simply for the fact that PSSR is not a upscaling technology that is hardware agnostic. FSR, Intel's XeSS is. That's why you can use FSR on an NVIDIA GPU. You can use it on an AMD GPU, on an Intel GPU, whatever. Yeah, and that's, from what I understood, not the case with PSSR. PSSR is a hardware upscaler that requires the new FP16 FP capabilities from AMD, and so it is dedicated to that. Now, is there a chance that AMD chips in PCs will be able to support that? Yes, there is. And if Sony wants to bring that over to PC, that could be a potential, but honestly, I doubt it.
I doubt it. The only time I can see it is if PlayStation release their own storefront on PC that isn't Steam.
But even then, the question is,
they would have a mode specific. So, for instance, if they had their own storefront and you downloaded the game on that storefront and not Steam, then you have the option to use PSSR because it was purchased through that storefront.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but then you would still require a dedicated AMD GPU in your PC.
Exactly.
That does support it. Yeah.
Much like the NVIDIA DLSS requires NVIDIA GPUs.
So you're shrinking down your potential user base that much, and then the question becomes, is that worth the money developing for it?
Yeah.
And that's why I highly doubt it. Now, what I could see though, Dutch, is with next gen PS6.
Yep.
we already know that they are going to use a AMD APU again. If Xbox goes down the same road and also bets on an AMD again, and the install base in their wider GPU on PC market, gets more established in that direction, then that's a maybe, but not in the foreseeable future. So for a Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, I highly doubt that.
Yeah.
Let us talk about the question from Omatoni. He says, assuming you record that after TGS, we posted that the question collecting on Wednesday, so what was your favorite game shown and any surprises you didn't expect?
After TGS, no. I mean, the only surprises for me was the Mana series going to Xbox in Trials of Mana and Legends of Mana.
I would have
wasn't really surprised by Pixel Remaster.
Yeah,
I was kind of expecting Pixel Remaster as the main one, and if lucky, 16. But 16 was a push. But I was expecting Pixel Remaster, so that wasn't really a surprise. That was more of a hey, there it is. But seeing Trials and Legends of Mana, that was a surprise. I didn't expect those.
Coming that day to Game Pass, especially, was the surprise for me. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The Epirist writes in, why is it that so many gamers get upset that Xbox games are going to PlayStation? In my mind, it's a good thing. Game development is expensive, so if we want Xbox to produce many good quality games, they need more money, which can only be achieved by having a larger custom base. Well, we have to pay attention that this doesn't turn into another hour topic, because we've discussed this multiple times, but I'm also one of those that are not that happy about the first party, the exclusive games going to PlayStation, and that is simply because I feel that this is going to lead eventually to even less competition in the gaming market, in the console space market. At the end of the day, I usually don't care if games are available to others or not. That's why I'm not that big of a fan for second-party, third-party exclusive deals. There's really no need to money-head a game. Yeah, it was made publicly this week that Silent Hill 2, for instance, is a money-headed game for at least a year. Things like that. I don't like that. Exclusives, on the other hand, give a console a reason for its existence. It gives the console an identity, and Xbox has lacked that identity for so long because it didn't have, outside of a Halo and a Forza, that many exclusives. And now they are at this point where they have exclusives and they could get and grow their install base in the console space. And I want them to do that because I also feel that what Sony really needs is competition in the console space. And with that move, they are definitely not improving the situation that Sony is outselling them 10-1 here in Germany or Europe. You know what I mean? And this is why I'm not a fan of this. Yes, you sell a few more games when you bring an Indiana Jones to PlayStation, but you're at the same time you're decreasing the reasons to get an Xbox console. And eventually we have less competition in the console space, and that is absolutely what I don't want. Yeah,
I'm exactly the same. I'm one of the ones where I'm thinking if it's a super popular multiplayer game as a service game, then have at it, go for it. those games live and die by player numbers, and if you've got a player number thing that requires a significant amount of online players and significant amount of people buying your microtransactions in order to generate revenue, then go for it. But when you've got uber popular or exclusive first-party single-player games, keep them exclusive. Like, I don't understand the need to sell another 1 million copies on another platform, or have the chance at getting another 500,000 people buying a console.
You know, I want Xbox to be as competitive as they were in the 360 days. And when you look at that generation, PS3 and 360, I think for many gamers that has been the peak generation. Not just on the Xbox side, but in general. And why is that? Because Sony and Xbox were actively fighting for our wallets, right? Yeah. And a big part of that was, of course, exclusives. Because let's face it, the hardware is the same. Yeah, we can all argue all day long if Xbox Series X has full FSR, full RDNA 2, and PlayStation 5 might not, and shit like that, and the clock speed is a little bit bigger here, and the SSD is a little bit faster there, and at the end of the day, the hardware is the same. So, what differentiates them is games and services that they offer, and software. Xbox has a great service in Game Pass, but obviously that is not, a big part of that is also marketing, I know. But it is obviously not a system seller enough. Otherwise, I mean, live to date sales for the Series consoles, right, are not even on par with the Xbox One. So it is this console generation for them is really a failure. And why is that?
That's ultimately my thing, is this lack of competition, which it will be, the more you put more games on other platforms and less of them that are exclusive and have a reason to invest in your box.
Yeah.
The less reason people will have to buy a box the next gen. And that'll trickle into the next box and the next box. And we've also already got this downward trend in where sales are going for the boxes in the first place.
Yeah.
At some point, and we've said this before, at some point, there will come a point in time where they will not be selling enough boxes to justify the research and development or the expenditure on putting that out in the first place. And then
the server infrastructure and everything behind it.
Stop making boxes. We're just going to be a third party.
Yeah, and especially now that corporate Microsoft, is so heavily invested in the Xbox division, right?
Yeah.
If they don't see potential growth there, eventually they're gonna pull the plug. I'm fully with you there, and that's why I want them to really be competitive and have an indie as a console exclusive. So if you want to play Indiana Jones, play it there. Play a Doom there. Play all those games there, right? And we'll have similar discussions once Gears E-Day comes out, or Fable, or I don't know, right? And then the overall need for the casual consumer is, okay, I can play those games. Yeah, maybe I get Game Pass there, but at the end of the day, I'm not playing that many games, and every one of my friends has a PlayStation as well, so obviously I'm getting a PlayStation. And it is just what it is, right? So, we could talk about this for another hour, but we got to move away from that question. Great question, though. Thank you. Stormplayer the X writes in. Nice to see you tomorrow. You are one of my highlights every single week. First of all, thank you. Means a lot to us if you do enjoy the show, and this goes, of course, for every one of our listeners. My question is, has Sony a solid games lineup for 25 and beyond? And most importantly, will it be full with new original titles and not full of remasters? I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the show, Dutch, but the roadmap is dry. It is.
Yeah.
We have Ghosts of Yotei now and Death Stranding. Only 2 games announced as a roadmap. We know they work on a lot of remasters and the stuff people don't want.
A load of Marvel games from the poor team over at Insomniac,
Yeah.
who are stuck making Marvel games for the rest of time.
Yeah. But God knows when Wolverine is going to come out, right? So.
Yeah. But even then, we still have no idea outside of Naughty Dog just making remasters forever. We don't know what their next game is going to be, and of course that's took a step back because Factions delayed everything. And then we still don't know what Corey's doing. We still don't know like when's the next GT coming out. Like GT7 was years ago now, like beginning of the gen.
Yeah.
So when's the next GT?
Santa Monica. What is Ben working on?
Yeah.
All those.
Ben's new game. There's so many things that I still left. No idea. Absolutely no idea.
We have no idea. Now, is it going to be a problem for them? Absolutely not, because they have such a huge market lead.
Yeah.
Why? Xbox is taking care that of the fact that PlayStation players have enough to play. They get Indie, they get Doom, they get the good stuff, right? So,
yeah.
Is it really a problem for Sony? I highly doubt it. It.
Yep.
The Big Bridge writes in, what's your most funniest LOL moment in video games?
I've had a lot of funny ones. I think the ones that stick to mind more recently in more recent gaming terms was when PUBG came out. I had, especially with the amount of bugginess and glitchiness that was out when that first came to console, which was horrific, by the way, but we still loved it nonetheless. Everything looked like Play-Doh. The amount of stupid shit that always happened. Like you could ride, like there's one of them that I still remember now. We were trying to get it back into the circle, and I was on a motorbike and sidecar with one of my pals that was playing with us. And we crashed into a house, and my character fell off. And then he proceeded to do this whole falling mechanic forever, and then just died. Like, he wasn't falling off everything. He was about half an inch off the floor, but he just died. And then the literal next time we spawned back into the same map, we ended up driving to exactly the same location. And the car just randomly flipped upside down, span in a circle at hyper speed, and exploded and killed us.
Yeah.
So I died in exactly the same spot with ridiculous consequences both times. And it was I've still got the recordings now. I was absolutely pissed myself laughing. It's things you couldn't write, and it's silly glitches like that people remember fondly from some of these games. Like you see them in GTA, and you see them in Red Dead. And you see them in Skyrim the first time you get hit by a troll, and you rocket up into oblivion and into the sky the first time you get hit with a troll hammer. There's so many funny things like that, but those two stick to mind because it's PUBG always gives them silly times, and I love it.
Yeah, for me it's hard to think of one particular moment. I mean, the funniest moments happen when you play games with friends, right? And then it's usually not, like you said, it's not something intentional from the game. It's either a glitch or it's a funny joke somebody makes. And I remember one evening playing Diablo 3 with 2 of my buddies in couch co-op. And obviously, Diablo is not a funny game per se, but it was just like we were having a couple of beers and pizza. And I remember this was one of these evenings. We didn't really intend to play that much, but we played through the entire night. I remember like we had to pause the game because we couldn't stop laughing. It's moments like this that make gaming so funny, right? So I do hope that answers your question. The bridge. So, Pyromed writes in and says it's more a statement. Considering much of the defense for Concord being a hero shooter is an oversaturated market, will Fragpunk last longer?
Ooh, probably.
I mean, everything lasts longer than.
It's got loads of new mechanics and things. Like it's got a card. It's kind of a card game mixed in with it, where you can kind of change the scenery and you can change things to benefit you. You can add huge grass in front of you, where it kind of switches the mechanics of the game up, and you can just sneak up to somebody. So there's a lot of things going for it that actually makes it stand out in the scene. So yeah, I think it probably will last longer. To be fair, I think it's just a lot more going for it.
Again, man, like it's really not hard to last longer than Concord.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks.
You have to
not even 2 weeks. 11 days.
Yeah, exactly. You only have to survive 11 days, and then you are doing better than that. But again, I'm with you. It does offer a lot of new mechanics. I just feel that that this market is saturated. It's gonna be very, very hard for any kind of game in that genre, in the games as a service space as a whole, to get a proper foothold that will be lasting in this day and age. You have so many games as a service titles already out there. People only have so much time that they can spend in a games as a service title. And once you are invested in one of those, you're less likely to leave. People are not leaving a Fortnite behind after having spent $500 on skins. It's like not gonna happen, right? And to be, you will see things like Helldivers. Yeah, occasionally massive hype around the game when it launched, and I know some people are still playing that, but it is nowhere near, not even close to what I would say is a like lasting successful games as a service title. Yeah. If you look at Steam right now, what is it? 8,000 people playing it, right? Yeah, people are playing it right now, but this is not what a successful games as a service title is. And there are only a handful that did that. Genshin Impact did that. Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, games like that, right? And that's why I thoroughly believe that within the next 5 years, we will see significantly less and less games as a service titles come out. Developers, publishers recognize that trend. It is, even with big names behind it. Yeah. From BioWare, I'm blanking on the name. Avengers failed. Biggest pop culture IP out there, right? Failed. Suicide Squad earlier this year. Despite being a great game, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. At least the campaign. Yeah. Failed. It is impossible in this day and age. And so, yeah, Fragpunk will last longer than Concord. That's not a big challenge, but I'm not sure if it's going to be like the next big thing, you know?
Yep. I agree.
All right. Dutch, we are almost at the 3-hour mark, and I think that brings us to the end of the show.
Yes.
Even though we were not in our usual spot, but on a Friday this week, we had a great community showing up here, and I want to say a big, big thank you to everyone who listened to us today, who chatted with us about games, talked about everything that happened. Means a lot. A big shout out, of course, to all the super chats, the channel members that do support us here. Means a lot, truly does. Of course, Dutch, we will be back next week at the regular time, Thursday. But let everyone know what you're working on.
Absolutely nothing. I'm just going to relax and play some games, and
that's the spirit.
I just need to relax at the minute, so I'm just going to relax, play some games, and be back again next Thursday for the podcast.
Sweet. Yeah, that's exactly what I intend to do. After a very stressful week at work, I can't wait for the weekend. Gonna play some games, probably mostly Age, but I might start Visions as well. And I do hope that everyone here in the community is also going to enjoy the weekend, play some games, and we hope to see you back next week. And don't forget to game on.